Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So we are talking June TBR today. So the last ones I have done, like, my books are wrapped up, I'm just gonna randomize it, but I have, since recording the last TBR video, actually decided to unwrap all of my books. I needed a little bit of a reset, and I have also realized that I am reading way too many series. And so I needed to just get all my sequels under control, make sure that I don't accidentally pull a first in a series as well, so at least like the ones or the series that I am starting are like under control as well, if you will, which this month will be just 2, and they're both connected to the book club too. So we're back to just like picking TBRs, I suppose. However, most of these are sequels. Like, the vast majority of the books that we're talking about today are actually sequels. I'll let you know what they're a sequel to when we talk about them. As per usual, you can find link to all the books in the description box down below. I will make sure to leave timestamps as well. I'll leave a link to the book club too in the pinned comment if you want to check it out. And actually, now that we're talking about the book club, let's start out with the first one, which is the primary pick for the book club. And that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Okay, this is a YA fantasy. It is the first one in a series. I don't know how many books. My book club picked it for me. Okay, we can't do sequels because you don't know who has read the first book. So we're always like either doing standalones or first in a series. Sometimes we do read-alongs for sequels, which we'll also be talking about. But I have heard so many good things about this book, so I felt like including it in the vote that we did, and I'm very excited. Hunted Hunter Destined for Each Other kind of gives like a little bit the Crimson Moth as well. The elites have possessed powers for decades, gifted to them by the plague, while those born ordinary are just that, banished from the kingdom of Ilia, or Elia maybe, and shunned from society. No one knows us better than Peyton Gray, an ordinary posing as a psychic to blend in with the elites. When she unsuspectingly saves one of Elia's princes, I'm gonna call it Ilya? I'm gonna, for the time being, call it Elia, okay? When she unsuspectingly saves one of Elia's princes, Kai Azer, she's thrown into the purging trials, a brutal competition showcasing the elite's powers. If the trials and the opponents within them don't kill her, the prince she's fighting feelings for will if he discovers what Peyton is. Completely ordinary. I actually kind of like that it's like that way around instead of someone with powers posing as ordinary, unless she turns out to have powers at some point, which I'm hoping not because it's called Powerless. But I know that there's like not necessarily a sequel, a full sequel, but like a middle book that's called Powerful. But it could also just be from the guy's point of view. I don't know. I'm hoping that she stays ordinary though. So anyway, yes, I'm excited. I'm gonna have a good time with this. Surprisingly small letters, which surprisingly, because it's YA, and YA usually have bigger letters on the pages, but it's fine. As for another one that we're starting, but this is part of the a read-along, because the secondary picks that we do each month become read-alongs, and I write down a plan and everything. So we're reading Wilde Love by Elsie Silver, which is her new series. I have split it up into 3 because I'm gonna write the plan down today. But I'm very excited for this. This is a romance contemporary. She's been driving him wild for years, the kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. I have heard many lovely things about Elsie Silver's, what's it called? Chestnut Springs series, which I own, have not started, which maybe I should have started. I don't know, probably won't be spoilers, but if there is, it's fine because it's romance. It's not like, it's not dark romance either, it's romance. We're gonna be fine, you know? So I'm excited to see what kind of chemistry the 2 characters have and what Elsie Silver's writing is like as well, because I do own her entire other series. I only do that, buy the entire series, when I'm very confident that I'll love it. It's just, I am more likely to actually start a series and then read the whole of it if I have the entire series to begin with. If I have to like pause and then buy them later on, suddenly they're on pause forever. So, or I just don't start them to begin with. But yeah, I'm super excited to read Wilde Love with the book club. And then we have had, just so people have a little bit to choose between as well, but we have another read along going on, just like we have with Throne of Glass, which I'm still not done with actually. I'm missing Kingdom of Ash. Whoops. But a while ago, I think it was in 2022, so like late 2022, we read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. And so I asked what series we wanted to continue out of the ones that we'd already done, and then added a couple of extra ones like Lunar Chronicles, for example. And they were very, very optimistic about the War of Lost Hearts, which is this series, Daughter of No Worlds. So we're continuing with Children of Fallen Gods and Mother of Death and Dawn. I loved Daughter of No Worlds so much. Tisana is such a lovely character, and so I am super excited to get back into this series with these two books. Also very nervous, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna put these weigh a lot, so I'm gonna put Mother of Death and Dawn down. They're heavy, okay, pretty heavy. But as for hello? As for Daughter of No Worlds, though, we follow Tisana, who is a previous slave. She is on the run after something has happened while she was enslaved. She's on the run and she seeks solace, or whatever you want to call it. Not solace, but like safety, with this group of people that are called the Order. The problem is that they want to train her to become one of their soldiers in payment for her safety. So like they'll keep her safe as long as she trains, because they know she has certain powers. So she has to train with this guy called Max, who's a bit of a recluse. I love their relationship though. Very mentor-mentee, and they're super cute. But the Order also has other ulterior motives behind training Tisana. So she might be trading one kind of enslavement for another kind. I don't know. The Order is just very suspect. So we'll see how it goes in the sequel. I'm very nervous. But I love Tisana. Tisana is awesome. I love her to bits, so I just love her attitude throughout it all. And even when she made decisions that I was a bit like, I don't know if I can agree with that, I still loved her attitude about it. Just love Tisana. Oh, and those are definitely romantasy. So they're this, like, I would probably say more adult than new adult. And then romance and fantasy, but it's more like the fantasy plot it's like a romance with fantasy instead of a fantasy with just like a little bit of a romance in there. Although I would say this one is more fantasy than The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I think. I don't really know. That might be a hot take. We're moving on. I'm also continuing the Ravenhood trilogy, which is by Kate Stewart. These are new adult romance, contemporary romances. Kind of have like Robin Hood vibes to them. We follow a girl who has been sent home to live with her very, very rich father who she does not have a good relationship with, but essentially she needs money to cover her and her mother, and so her father tries to make a deal with her, like she'll come live with him and work for him over the summer and he'll make sure that they're covered. She just really does not like her father. He's not been there, so it's understandable. When she gets there, she's introduced to a group of people. She is particularly drawn to two of them. There's a bit of a white shoes in this one. At least in the first one it's 3, but I don't know if it grows to be more than 3, so anyway. And not a poly, but a white shoes. And then the first one is pretty much about like the growing relationship with the 3 people, but also there's this like secret in the background, because what are these guys up to? They have some secrets. Remember that I mentioned Robin Hood, okay? So I feel like that's gonna be a lot more talked about in this one, so we'll see. But I'm excited. I very much enjoyed the first one. It had me a little bit shocked at times, I'm not gonna lie. A little bit shocked. I was like, oh, okay. Another series. The rest are basically series, I think. Except from one. Ooh, I got an arc today and I instantly put it on my TBR and I'm so excited. But let's talk about that in a little bit. So, Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score, which is the sequel to Things We Never Got Over, which I loved so much. I don't actually fully know what this is about. It's a contemporary romance. It's very pink. Oh my god, wait, hold on. I need to check this. They look so cute! Wait, they look so cute next to each other. Okay, anyway, I needed a moment. But I think this is about, it's about the dude in Things We Never Got Over, his brother. So he's like the better guy of the two. He's the nicer one, but I think there's a bad girl in this one. Good guys don't fall for bad girls. I will take that as a yes. Other than that, I don't really know. I don't want to know. I just want to go into it and have a good time. Kind of want to binge it a little bit because that's how romance really gets me like the most, when I binge them, when I just sit down and read them in like 2 or 3 days. So I'm excited for that. The series is great, by the way. Well, the first one is great. Well, some people thought it was great. I can't really. Some people thought it was great, some people didn't. But I guess it's like that with basically everything, right? So, more series that we're continuing. I have included the next 2 on I think it was in the January TBR video, but I could be misremembering. However, I'm really set on actually reading it this time. It sounded very aggressive for a second. I have a plan to make a video, but it's going to be very optimistic because 2 of the books are so thick, so I guess I'll have to somehow prepare like videos running while I'm doing this because it's going to take a long time. But I want to read, for starters, Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, sequel to Fourth Wing, which is like also romantasy, I feel. Yeah. Think like college, but not fantasy college. Think fantasy college, but with dragons and like dangerous trials and rebels, because this whole society is completely messed up. And we follow a girl who is not necessarily the physically strongest, which dragon riders have to be, but also she's been trained her whole life to be a scribe, not a dragon rider. So she's already behind. It's a bit like, it does kind of give Divergent, doesn't it? Maybe not. I feel like just for a second there I had something and now I'm kind of questioning it. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about the plot because I feel like we've been through this already several times. This is also the Waterstones edition if you're curious, by the way. I'm terrified to read it, which is probably why I haven't done it yet. Both terrified like content wise but also edition wise. So I'll have to somehow overcome my fears before I do that. But we'll see how it goes. The first year is when some of us lose our lives. The second year is when the rest of us lose our humanity. That's a quote by Xaden Ryerson. Anyway, I'm excited to get into that world again. I just am terrified. What if I don't like it? And that's just kind of the same theme with the next one. What if I don't like it? It almost feels like blasphemy if I didn't. House of Flame and Shadow. Okay, Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series, however many books that is, and at this point I feel like we might as well just not talk about the 1st book anymore because probably not even relevant to it. But we follow Bryce Quinlan, who was a little bit of a party girl. Now she solves murder mysteries, at least for a little while. And it's urban fantasy, so it takes place in a city. Also, there's a dude who's an angel, and Bryce is she's a demi-fae, she's half human, half fae. And there's a lot of other supernatural creatures in the city as well. It's like a mix of basically everything, more or less. But heavy on the romance. There's a lot of guys in these books, like a whole lot of guys in these books, like a ton of dudes in these books. Sometimes I feel like Bryce is pretty much the only one. There's also the princess, I suppose. And now there's another one as well, which I'm excited to get to know a little bit better because we don't really hear much about her in the sequel or in House of Sky and Breath. So we'll see, but yeah, I can't believe I haven't read this yet because considering how Sky and Breath left off, I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? It's the same with this one, considering how this left off, like what the heck? I am truly a patient person. I am. Slightly masochistic as well, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, so we'll see. But also I'm nervous about this because I love her books, but what if this is the one that I don't actually love? You know? What if she's finally lost it to me? I don't know, it kind of makes me nervous. So we'll see about it. The 3rd one is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is also supposed to be for that video, but we'll see if I actually manage to do it because how many pages is this? 400 and then 800 and then 600 or something like that. A little bit more than 600. So it's a bit much for 1 week, isn't it? Or maybe 2. But I don't want it to be 2. I want it to just be 1. I want it to be 1 week. We'll see how I manage. But Ruthless Vows, this is the sequel to Divine Rivals. Or maybe we'll just make it the whole month. Is this the month of reading very, very hyped sequels? Are we gonna do that to June? Oh my gosh, we might do that to June. Anyway, so sequel to Divine Rivals, YA, what I would call romantasy because the romance is so entwined with the plot itself that I feel like it doesn't really stand on its own, if you get what I mean. And so in this one though, or in the first one, we follow our lead girl who is called Iris, I think. Your name is Iris, right? Iris and Roman? Yes, Iris and Roman. They are rivals at this like newspaper thing. They're both competing to get a fixed employment thing at this newspaper. I think it's something like that. There was a word that I didn't really understand. I just kind of made an assumption and went with it. You know how it is. Okay, English is my first language. So sometimes you jump to conclusions and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I think I got it right. But they are competing for this spot at the newspaper. And so they're kind of like butting heads quite often. Meanwhile, Iris at home is dealing with a mother who's not really doing well, and her brother is off fighting a war, because there's a war in the background of this between gods and like humans are fighting it. It's a whole thing. Would love to hear more about it. Hope there's more info on it in this book, by the way. But she has a typewriter, and on this typewriter she writes her brother letters quite often. So she writes them, puts them under her closet, the next day they're gone, and she's assuming they've ended up with her brother. However, they don't actually end up with the brother. They somehow end up with Roman. And so he's been reading her letters for a while without telling her, and he knows that they're from her because she's talking about herself as Iris, and also there are certain tells in the letters. And so while they're having this like back and forth at work, he knows. He's kind of taken with her, not gonna lie. But Roman also has his own issues. So eventually things just don't turn out well, and Iris decides that she is going off to the war to be a war reporter, or whatever they're called. An on-scene reporter of war. And that means she's now in the middle of it, and it's messy. And then Roman shows up, and it's like, what are you doing here? And yeah. It was great. I loved it. I binged it so badly. I binged it so badly. I have it downloaded on my Kindle now because it's currently on Kindle Unlimited, or it at least was when I downloaded it. So I'll be reading it on my iPad, and I'm so excited. I'm so ready for that to be a good time. Anyway, I have 2 arcs as well. One is a continuation of a series that I started last year or the year before, I cannot remember, but it's Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Why was that? I don't know where I was going with that. It almost sounded like I said mermaids for a second. Anyway, of fairies. But the sequel is called Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I didn't love the first one. This is adult fantasy with romance, and I don't know, I didn't love the first one, but I'm very willing to give the sequel a try. There were just certain things about the first one that bothered me a little bit. We're talking like all the names, for example, like it takes place on a fake Norwegian island, but everyone has Icelandic names, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why? Huh? But also, it was written like a journal, and at times I felt like that was such a cute twist on it, but also at times I got a little bit annoyed with being in Emily's head. The romance, the guy, I don't like. I'll be really honest, I don't like him. So I'm hoping that he improves a little bit in the sequel, but we will see. I can't even remember his name. I feel like I want to call him Featherington, but that's because I've just watched season 3 of Bridgerton. That is not his name. And then I'm like, is his name Darlington? But isn't that the dude from Ninth House, or is that his name? Like, I don't know, I can't remember. But I didn't love him. Not necessarily because of like how he is, but because of him still sleeping around despite, or at least like according to Emily, because like you never know, she might be unreliable. But despite being like super in love with her behind the scenes, he's like still sleeping around with girls while sharing a house with her. I don't know, I don't like it. I can't understand, okay? But yeah, the first one is about her being on this island. She's doing research on fairies there, trying to get closer to the community as well, but she's very bad at making friends. And then this guy turns up who's a bit of a rival to her, but he offers to work with her on this research, so they both get credit, and he is much better at making friends and talking to strangers than our girl Emily is. I think for information as well, she's a bit autistic coded, which is quite interesting as well. But I heard lots of people love the first one. It's just, I think I'm in the minority. It's not that I hated it, it just was like a 3-star instead of a 4.5, for example. So, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the sequel goes. The other arc that I have is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, which honestly, I don't really know what's about. I haven't looked into it. I just know I love Ali Hazelwood, so I desperately want it, okay? And I squealed when I saw that I had gotten approved for the arc earlier today. I squealed. I was like, no way! Which shouldn't have been surprising because I got Bride as well. I don't know. Am I in with Little Brown Group? Wait a minute. Or maybe they're just very generous. that could also be it, right? But yeah, we're gonna have fun with that one as well. Love Ellie Hazelwood, so I'm excited to see where she goes with this one. It's not one of her women in STEM, although isn't there still something a little bit about it? But after reading Bride, which I loved as well, I feel like she can't really do any wrong. So I'm just gonna go into it, and it's probably gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna have a good time. Yes. Anyway, was that biased? Yes, and I don't care. I am just living my life, okay? But that was that the entirety of it? 9 and 11? Yes. So if you want to check out any of the books, there are still links to them in the description box. I know I'm not the best at summaries, but also these are books that I've not read, so I feel like that's fair. But also with my romances, I often actually don't really read the summaries. I just get a vibe. You know, I just get a vibe and I'm like, yeah, I like this vibe. Let's go with it. Like, when I say read the summaries, I probably read the summaries, but I don't really memorize them. And I'm more like, I choose them after that and then I forget them until I actually read them again. I don't know if that makes sense, but my brain, it's fine. We all work in mysterious ways, right? So you can find links to them in the description box. If you want to check out the book club, there's a link to that in the pinned comment. But aside from that, I think that is about it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. However, I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!